welcome to this week's episode of Librarians of Anarchy. My name is Sean Murray, and with me are two men. What can I say? One has a beard, one does not have a beard. It's Rodney Smith and Declan Doyle. Hey,
Hello,
gents. How are we
hello.
doing?
Good
So what
to
are
be
you in
I
between
don't
the
know
beard
why
and the no
I'm
beard?
going great. It's going very grey. Anyway, I'll have to change that avatar in our little ad there
Right.
because I'm gonna have to do a little color match up here. My beard's going grayer by the day.
dear. No, actually, it's perfect.
You're coming on lovely.
We've lost Declan again. Declan is there somewhere, viewers. Yes, he's just walking around the room. We know for a fact.
No, I'm here.
Okay,
No,
Declan got bored. Declan got bored.
no, no,
Understandable, Decky. Understandable, but
no, I'm here. You two are
okay.
jammed.
We've kind of got long distance Declan Doyle, so we're kind of mixing it up this week with a bit of movement. I think feedback was less of our faces, more movement.
Ah,
So Decky's just playing ball there. Thank you,
there we go.
Declan. Back in the room, back in the zone.
Back in the zone.
Can you see me?
Yeah,
You
loud and
can
clear.
indeed.
Bright as a light.
Here we go. Here we go.
Okay, how have you been, lads? How's your summer?
A1 Shard.
Yes,
Hey,
very nice. Went by too quickly. Too quickly.
Yeah, it was a quick one. It's
Not over. Not over.
some,
Don't give in yet.
some weather, some weather.
We did
Very
well.
sweaty weather, very humid.
Yeah.
And I see
Yes.
it's enticed you to shave off all your hair, Rods.
Well, I thought once the summer comes, the beard goes.
Oh,
Short, absolutely, yeah.
oh.
I'd hate to have long hair and a beard. There's no way. I wouldn't be able to pull it off like some people.
It'll be lunacy. It'll be lunacy in the hot weather.
I don't know who would do that.
No, Declan, how'd your face bear out throughout the summer?
Well, see, I did offer to shave it off at one point
Right.
Okay.
many years ago. And this is the comment I got. Don't do that, Dad. It gives you the character that you lack.
Ah. Oh, honestly.
Very good.
Yeah. We're going to do that.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent.
so-
That's a nice little joy.
Yeah, it gets quite warm up.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, it's not
It's
summer
on the hair.
friendly.
It chaps the heat.
Okay.
Good.
Very good. It's not summer friendly, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Well,
I'm not friendly anyway.
will we rock on, lads?
We will.
Let's move on.
Let's move on to our business of anarchy, right? And this week I am gonna go first, and I have a tale of the supernatural. For you guys, it's started. This is a strange one. It began in the middle of the War of Independence in 1920. It was a night, the 16th of August, 1920, near Templemore. There was a Northamptonshire regiment based there. And basically, to get revenge for the IRA killing one of their soldiers that day, they went on the rampage in Templemore. And they basically looted a load of bars, broke into a load of businesses, got a bit locked. Literally, it was reported there's a few of them running down the street shouting, wearing dresses that they robbed from the dressmakers, and yeah, being a bit rowdy, And unfortunately, two of them died. They were setting fire to various premises as well, and two of them got killed that night. So none of the locals were actually harmed. So kind of backfired a little bit the rampage. Anyway, the very next day in a little village called Curraheen, there was a guy called Thomas Walsh. He was 16 years old, and he was visited by the Virgin Mary, who told him that she was worried about the goings on in Ireland altogether. So, and she asked him to dig a hole in his bedroom. And he did that, and a holy well appeared. And there was water in a hole in his bedroom to the rest of us. But it was regarded as a holy well. And he reported that three statues of the Virgin Mary in his gaff in Corraheen were ejecting blood from the heart of the Virgin Mary. Uh, Now, word began to spread. People began to visit his home. People were claiming they were cured. He brought the statues into Templemore, which was a couple of miles away. And they set up a kind of an altar thing, and there was three statues there. And sure enough, other people witnessed the the blood coming out of the Virgin Mary's heart periodically. So massive furore, big crowds started visiting Templemore. They reckon at the height of it, there was like 15,000 a day pilgrims coming up to see these statues. And of course, having a crack at the rosary and everything that goes with it. And very not like there was loads of stalls set up selling guff and souvenirs. He was getting Thomas Walsh himself was getting pictures taken. You could get your pictures taken with him for a few quid. Uh, and the town started to get inundated. What it did was it stopped the fighting between the IRA and the British during this period. And um, the British actually were given a gift of one of these statues. And sure enough, in the barracks, it began to bleed uh, out through the other heart. So a few of the Brits went kind of mental. One converted to Catholicism, one went left the army, joined a religious order straight away. And the barracks started getting inundated by the locals. So they kind of started fleeing, as did the police. And the IRA stepped in and started taking over the town, as in they were running the show, guiding people around, but you had to pay a little tariff to the IRA. Um, so cars were just coming in. There was a lot of cars for that. They had donation buckets, so they would just see it as they were covering their costs for policing the town and keeping order. Um, I kind of had a bit of an adverse effect on the IRA lads because they were getting locked. They had loads of money now, and they started going into the pubs, and so it was a fair adversely affecting the war effort. In the meantime, the clergy were involved. Some of the older priests didn't want to know, weren't having any of it. Younger priests were very enthusiastic, were embracing it, a bit of publicity, and it became a big national and international story during this period. Anyway, one of the commanders, Leahy, what was his name? Leahy, one of the IRA commanders, was getting a little suspicious, and he was also worried about the effect it was having on the IRA men, that they were taking their eye off the ball, and they were just lapping it up with the money, with the money they were getting from the donations and the tariffs and you name it. Um, so he got on to Michael Collins up in Dublin. Now, Michael Collins, he told Michael Collins the story, and Michael Collins ordered Thomas Walsh to be interrogated. So Leahy interrogated him, as did one of Collins's men from Dublin. I can't remember his name, but yeah, one of Michael Collins' right hand men. And they kind of reported that Leahy was during the course of the interrogation was saying, and the Virgin Mary had told him that she agreed with the guerrilla warfare tactics of the IRA and that she'd like to see them escalated. So the IRA were kind of trying to keep kind of a straight face on all this. So they reported back to Collins how skeptical they were. So Collins had a bit of religion in him, and he said, "Well, I knew you would be skeptical. You lads, you have no religion." And he goes, "Will you send me up one of the statues?" So what they did was they got one of the bleeding statues and got it couriered up to Collins in Dublin. Um, Collins got it and whacked it off the side of his desk, and it smashed, as you do with a religious relic. And contained within the pieces was a part of an alarm clock, the mechanism from an alarm clock. There was the inside of a fountain pen and what they found out to be sheep's blood as part of that. So they've been using an alarm, whoever was responsible was using the alarm clock mechanism to squirt out blood through a hole in the heart every few hours. So mystery solved to a degree. No one really knows whether it was the IRA, a few of the locals setting up because it's there's so many people benefited from it. The local businesses, the IRA got loads of money to continue the war effort, and it was just great publicity for the town. Unfortunately, Thomas Collins was the only one really who didn't get much good publicity out of it. The IRA didn't know what to do with him. He was eventually kind of sheltered by the church who took him in, and he ended up emigrating to Australia, never to be seen here again. And he died in 1977. So he had a good long life um, for the time. But and that's that story. It's all a bit mad. But there you go.
Jeepers, well, I certainly wasn't. It's very clever that they were able to put some kind of mechanism in the statue to squirt it out as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Oh,
Where there's a will, there's a way.
yeah, that's legendary. That's fantastic. Really
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Really good. I love
Okay.
that.
What's
It's
that thinking now?
Yeah,
like, like the the Rodney and Del Boy thing, you know, where they had the crying statue because they nicked all the
yeah,
lead off the roof, you know.
yeah. It would,
You know,
it would
proper tried.
remind you of that. But there you go. It casts a little bit of light, given that this was 1920,
Yeah.
and a lot of the stuff in the 80s with the
Oh yeah,
beating and the moving and
Yeah,
all
censored and
this,
all that.
it just goes to show how resourceful they were. Like I'm reading this story, and I didn't know the end. I
Mhm.
didn't know the end of it when I started reading it. I was kind of surprised. I'm God, that's for 1920. That's quite clever.
Yeah,
considering how hardcore Catholic Ireland was back then, to be
absolutely.
doing something like that to the Virgin
Yeah,
Mary,
yeah.
you know, who'd own up to that anyway? Even if at the end of it, you wouldn't go, "Oh, that was me." No, no,
But
you're sure.
there was loads of psychosomatic recoveries
Ah, yeah,
from the thing as well. People were claiming to be healed all over the shop. One lad had a gammy leg and he was running around the place and stuff. Yeah, it's a bit mad. Yeah, when
that's,
you go into when you read the full story, it's just mental. It's just
that's
mental. Everyone
beautiful.
with the pox
Didn't do
and
anybody any harm, I suppose. In the end, it was probably did a lot of good, benefited a lot of
yeah.
people.
Do you know what it did? It stopped fighting in the town for 2 months. It stopped the yeah. So there's that element of it. There's that element of it, but it's all a bit mad, and it still is a bit of a mystery who actually concocted the statues, who
No,
put
you never
the
find that out.
mechanisms in them.
That's gone to a grave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know. Then again, your man, he lost his bedroom.
he did such a strange, such a strange thing. Yeah, yeah. He took a hole in his bedroom, and lo and behold, there was a well.
Yeah.
As happens.
As does happen. So there
Yeah.
was a lot of whack of holy water being sent out from there, and people drinking that, and yeah, it was all
I'm sure they're not even Christian either.
no, no, it was all
Yeah.
madness, all
Yeah.
madness.
Wonderful
Um,
madness.
yeah,
And he was a guard training college.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Thank to God. It's gone down. Yeah, it went downhill after that. Absolutely. Okay, let's move on, Rodney. What have you got for us?
Me, yeah, okay. I am going to. There's a religious aspect to this as well, chaps, and I'm
But
going
always,
always well as always, but religion is everywhere. I'm going back to the Middle Ages initially to talk about the printing press and Gutenberg and the impact, not just the impact that it had, but a little twist to this one as well. So we know that When books started to get printed around the 1400s, they became cheaper and more available to people because up until then it all had to be done by hand and they were very expensive and very few people could afford to read books. And errors in one version of a book would be passed on to another book because whatever you wrote in yours would be hand done the next one and would be mess up again. Um, but now with the printing press, that didn't happen. Copies could be sent around quickly. You didn't have ideas confined to the elite or to monasteries or to churches. You had libraries. You had the birth of maybe newspapers and public opinion. And you also had the ability to send your idea around the world very quickly. So when Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses to the church in 1517, sparked the Protestant Reformation. Whereas before the printing press would have been, he would have had to handwrite all these pamphlets and posters and stuff, but he got his message around very quickly, and all of a sudden Europe was wrapped up in a whole Reformation. And you had the science as well was a huge benefit as well. You had scientists like Copernicus and Galileo and Newton who were able to share their ideas widely, and people could talk to one another and share ideas, and you couldn't just bottle it up and keep it to yourself. So knowledge became easier to share and also to test as well. You could, if somebody wrote something, you could test it and say, well, actually, no, I tried that and it doesn't work. Printing then became an industry. You had books, newspapers, and it created a lot of jobs. So it revolutionized history. So the first book, the common one is it's the Gutenberg Bible that was produced by Johannes Gutenberg around, it was in the 1480s in Germany. And it's called the 42 line Bible. Why is it called the 42 line Bible? I hear you ask. It's because each column has 42 lines in it, and that's how it was created. He did various designs. So if you look at the page now, you'll see two columns on the page, and each column has 42 lines in it. That's how he lines it up. Other publications have different lines, but this is how Gutenberg came up with it. And so it's quite distinctive. No, so they call this the Gutenberg Revolution, and they say this changed everything, and all of a sudden you had printed books available throughout Europe. However, unbeknownst to many Europeans, the Chinese actually were hundreds of years ahead of the rest of us. They have been printing books since the 800s BC, because we don't call it BC anymore before Christ. They've reduced the religious element of that, and I wrote it down. It's now before Common Era. So what used to be BC is now BCE. So 800 years in old money BC, the Chinese were printing books. The difference is they were using a technique called woodblock printing. And what they would do is they would actually carve the page of a book into this block of wood. And then they would put ink on it and then they would put the page on it. So they had to carve it in reverse, first of all, on the block of wood. Then they'd put ink on it and then they'd snap the page on and print it off. So eventually you could produce lots and lots of copies of books. However, you literally had to carve it into the block of wood. So that took quite a while. The difference in Gutenberg was all individual letters in metal, and you could arrange them in words or formats, and you could go and you could change the letters quite quickly. So it was a lot quicker, and you could mass produce them a lot quicker as well. The first book produced, so the first, you ask anyone today, what's the first book produced, and most people will say, get out of my face, I haven't got a clue. The ones who know will know actually it's the Gutenberg Bible, will say it's the Gutenberg Bible, but it's actually the Diamond Sutra in roughly 860 BC. Now, it's not a rude one, just to be clear on this one. It's actually quite a spiritual book. It's a Buddhist scripture book, and it's all about the teachings of Buddha, all about perception and how we can detach ourselves from life. A lot of times people summarize it with wisdom can cut through an illusion like a diamond. That's a great phrase. Wisdom can cut through an illusion like a diamond. And there is actually a surviving copy of this work, and it's over 5 meters long, ending with a note, believe it or not, written on it to say this was produced, this was printed in 868 BC. Now, I have a problem with that last fact because how do they know it was 868 BC? Because the Lord hadn't been born yet, so how did they know actually what year they were writing it in? So I would question that last now piece of facts that are going around the place.
You're skeptical, Rod. So they just had a
It's
stab at. They just had a stab at it.
it's skeptical on that. Yeah, I just happen to know the year that I'm writing. Yes, I think that the Messiah will be born in 868 years. So I'm going to take a guess on that one. So the difference was with the Gutenberg Bible. So both were actually spiritual books. You had the Buddhist work and you had, if you like, the Christian work. So the Gutenberg Bible was written in Latin. It was Old and New Testaments, and it was used by all religions at the time. Then actually, that was the version that initially was used and proliferated throughout Europe at the time, and was usually in two volumes, big, large Gothic tile, Gothic and hand decorated initials. Whereas the Buddhist book was the oldest one, and that's a woodblock one as opposed to a movable type one. And actually, if you ever look, you can see on the internet there's a side-by-side images of the two. You'll actually see on one side is on the Chinese version, it's literally all Chinese characters. On the other side, then you see the Gutenberg Bible, which is your two columns, and you can count them. There's actually 42 lines in each, and there are some illustrations as well. And that is that was the end of mine. Probably not as mind-blowing probably as Sean's previous one, but it's if anyone comes up to you and says, "Do you know the Gutenberg Bible was the first book ever produced, printed, mass printed?" You can go back and say, "Oi, mate, you're wrong, and here's why." So at least you have
That
that.
was actually said to me before lunch, and I didn't have that information to hand, Rodney. So
There you go.
that's amazing.
Diamond.
Very good, very interesting, very informative.
That printing press led to a whole raft of historical change throughout Europe as well. One of the earliest things they printed off as well was the How to Find a Witch pamphlet, which led to a whole host of insanity across all of Europe and into America for hundreds of years because of a pamphlet.
Wow.
Liechtenstein became in existence because of this pamphlet. That's another story I'll tell you about another time. But yeah, it sent a ripple through space and time for us, you know. But I didn't know about the Chinese book.
Wow.
That's fascinating.
There you go. There you go. That's interesting. Liechtenstein kind of has it's kind of an evil name, isn't it? It's sinister.
Liechtenstein.
Liechtenstein.
It's a family name.
Oh.
Is it?
Yes. They had to buy the country because of the pamphlet. It's a whole, I'll tell you another time. I'll have for next week. It's fascinating. And it's all because of Gutenberg Press as well. And
very
a character who was very, very like Trump. And that's how Liechtenstein came. I'll tell you about it again. But it's mad. Gutenberg's press was an amazing thing regarding humanity.
Go for it. You've 10 minutes. I get cracking. Go for it.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, I'm moving on to the KKK because that's what you do. To the glasses on so we can read. Yeah, I'll talk to you about Liechtenstein again. It's fascinating stuff. The press is mad. Now, again, what we're going to do now is I'm going to go back to 1924 in a place called South Bend in Indiana. Now, at the time, we had issues with the KKK and Irish people. They weren't fond of us at all. We were Catholic. We weren't them. Essentially, we were foreigners. We wouldn't speak their language. A whole host of things. So we were treated as bad as everybody else, who wasn't a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Lots of issues. In South Bend, a college had to be created for the Catholics, so they weren't allowed to the rest of them. So Notre Dame was created. Now, if you think of Notre Dame in its current form, they have a football team. As well know, it's called the Fighting Irish. Now, I know there's a bit of a cancel culture going on at the moment, removing names from various college teams and all that crap because they're derogatory, but this one isn't. And I'll tell you why now in a second. The KKK, very prominent in Indiana alone, there was 425,000 members. They reckon 1 in 3 people born were born into the KKK. Huge political force at the time. They haven't really gone away either. So anyway, they I'm asked one day in 1924 in May to go and have a look at the college because it was predominantly filled with Catholics, as was most of the town because of the huge influx of immigration. I had to settle somewhere. Plus, Irish people tended not to, didn't want to lose their language or heritage because that's what they were fleeing. So they weren't going to give it up that easily either. So they were quite determined to remain with their identity. So Notre Dame College was in existence anyway. So KKK had a firm grip on the police and the political forces at play in South Bend. So they amassed anyway one day for a picnic because they like to sanitize their violence, you know. So they're having a picnic. It was a day out for the family. 500 students from the college and some of the local just residents of the area decided to go down and have a chat with them. Obviously, then it broke out into a riot. It went on for days. There was one particular place was selling potatoes to the rioters. And one particular gentleman by the name of Harry, it's German though, so bear with me. Harry Studer. He was the quarterback for the football team at the time. And of course, quarterbacks, as you know, are the one of the icons of the college scene. So he was called in and handed a bar of potatoes and told to fling them at the board and crosses. So he was doing that with great success. They had one with just lights in it. So he blew that up as well. All went off. So 3 or 4 days of rioting and fighting and punching and kicking. The college was attacked. 6 people were arrested in the riot. Of the 6, 4 of them were students. And 2 of those, their arrest was for using profane language. That hardcore. So when you think about that in respect of modern day colleges in the States, whereas they hold up a peaceful flag about the Palestinian issue, they're all getting thrown out, no degrees, no nothing. During this riot, 500 students involved, and it was a riot. It wasn't a peaceful protest. It wasn't a picnic. It was full on scrap. None of them were taken to task by the college. None of them. It was okay. They understood why they did it, and they absolutely adhered to it. The president of the college at the time was a gentleman named Father Walsh. And by 1927, this had gone on there for a couple of years because just because of the riot hadn't simmered down. They tried to do it again in October later that year, but the steam had gone out of the clan a bit because of the resistance they were getting. So by 1927, Father Walsh authorised the full nickname or the official nickname of the football team to the Fighting Irish, and has remained that to this day. So it's not a derogatory term. It was used as a derogatory term prior to this. We were known as drunken fighting Egypts, you know. So that was always a moniker, you know. But they owned the whole Fighting Irish thing, and it remained that way since. Oh. So they were resilient against the clan, which was, as you can see, huge numbers back then in the States. And they maintained their position and overcame it. So, again, what I found fascinating was I always thought the Notre Dame Fighting Irish thing was one of them, you know, nasty old terms that was used for us. And no, they owned it and they kept it that way. And hopefully they keep it, you know, because people have to look beyond the words, they have to look behind the words and the reason they're there, you know.
Very good. Very good. So it's quite a noble name in given the circumstances, given the background to it.
Yeah. Old movie. I'd watch a lot of old movies as well, and you'd have Notre Dame and the Fighting Irish, and you take it for granted, but never realize where it actually came from.
So it was a clash with the clan.
Yeah. Wow.
You know. And the fascinating thing about that is the clan had huge power in the States back then, and yet there was no there's no adverse effects for the students for meeting them head on and with violence. Whereas nowadays you can't peacefully protest, which is constitutionally allowed in most countries. You can't seem to do that anymore. They've retermed it all, and like you seen the other day with Lafferty, the Scottish writer who wrote "The Wind That Shakes the Barley," he wore a T-shirt. And now he's been up in front for charges.
Just lost you there for a bit, Declan.
I presume he's up on charges. Yeah, signal got this. So presumably he's up on charges for writing something on a t-shirt. No, it's yeah, you better.
He's terrible charges.
Gosh. Sean, you better stop this show then before we get into something litigious ourselves, and then where the three of us are hauled up then for something, for maybe wearing the wrong aftershave or something.
Absolutely. Someone's glasses might get broken.
Well,
Okay, we're having a little technical trouble with sound, so we might wrap it up there, gents. Listen, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure as always, and so we'll see you all soon. Thank you.
Long as
take care.